Ooh, you didn't tell me you were a brainiac.
Welcome into LeatherBrainz, your host here, Slapdog, and sun's out, guns out. It is a beautiful day out here, and I am joined with not Scotty, not producer Scotty, he's not here, but Alan Casanova Castro has made a reappearance. He is alive. Many of you had reached out in concerns that he was no longer living. He is in fact living. He is here today. Alan, it has been a while. How have you been, my friend?
Been good. Been really good. You need some sun on those shoulders, though.
I know, dude. You want to know the embarrassing part? Is like you get about right here.
Oh,
I got
that's
farmer's.
true.
That's why I'm wearing this. So
Dude,
for
yeah,
anybody who's listening and not watching, highly recommend that you watch this show. And you can find us on YouTube, any podcast platform that you're currently on. We also have video on Spotify as well. So wherever you might be tuning in at, highly recommend. If you want to see some sweet, I can't even jest anymore.
Blinded by some shoulders.
Yeah,
Fire up.
It's a good place to do it. So, Alan, today we're going to be discussing. It's good to have you back, by the way. I'm glad that you're live. I'm glad that you're here, and I'm excited to talk about football with you today. That's what we're going to be doing here. Is we're going to be talking about some NFL headlines and NFL news. You've been away for a while, so obviously you've still been plugged into what's happening. Is there anything that maybe we had covered on previous weeks that you wanted to throw your sense in for, or is there anything that comes to mind?
Not really. I think this is just like we're in the crazy season of NFL talk where somebody will post like a 30-second, or not even 30 seconds, 15-second video of somebody throwing or catching a football, and they're like, "Oh my God, it's here! Here it is!" And he's like jogging. There's nobody around. I saw the Chiefs do that, and because I've been traveling a lot, so I've been checking just randomly, and I saw the Chiefs post, and it was like Rashee Rice like catching a ball, and they're like, "Oh, he's back!" And it was like a crosser where he's maybe going half speed. I'm like, what is he back from? Like,
they're not wearing pads. The helmets are on.
This shows me absolutely nothing, but this is the crazy season. You're just getting random video clips of people going crazy over nothing. So
when you don't have anything to talk about, and you're degenerates like ourselves who are so plugged in, it's like you're looking for anything. You're looking for any sort of conversational piece or anything that is, for fantasy football. It's the slow time for us, right? The fantasy football isn't getting played. Dynasty football is a year-round thing, and that's really where I've kind of leaned towards. Is like I'm constantly itching for just some sort of action, something to happen. So I'm like, let's make a trade, and it's like I don't really need to, but I'm bored.
The only thing you guys touched on that I was hoping to have more news posted is like if Diggs is going to get cut yet. I thought that was going to happen sooner rather than later, but
I don't think it's going to happen.
You don't think so?
It would have been done by now.
Yeah, maybe.
What's some cocaine to a wide receiver one?
I guess I would want my wide receiver ones to be distributors of cocaine now that I think about it. Like that's probably.
You think he was a distributor? Well, I mean, obviously he was handing it out, but do you think like Cardi B gave it to him to hand out, or do you think like he brought that with him?
I don't know. I feel like either one of them would have a good plug to get cocaine.
Agreed.
I would like to think from a leadership standpoint, I would want my wide receiver one to be taking care of everybody else. So like I would want him to be distributing the cocaine.
You want him to have the plug?
Yeah, I'd want him to be to bring the party.
It was pink, so that's kind of what leads me to believe it could have been Cardi B. Maybe they just wanted to add some coloring in there, some flair. Yeah. I don't know. I'm not well versed in cocaine. I don't even. Is that what's on the street these days? I'm not sure. No, I'm not. Unfortunately, I don't know much about it aside from the fact that Stephon Diggs was distributing it on a boat with Cardi B. So I think he's going to stay, and I think that the Patriots kind of need him a little bit, and so.
As a Drake May owner in fantasy, I would really like him to stay, but I was just wondering if I was like, he might be gone. I don't know. I don't know how this stuff plays out.
I don't either. Well, I mean, like you want to talk about legalities. Rashee Rice is still on the team and has faced no penalties thus far. You were just talking about how he's looking better than ever. He's the next thing since sliced bread.
Yeah, I mean, who hasn't crashed their car speeding before?
Yeah, and then
you know what I mean.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Then just left the scene.
First, who hasn't sped? If you've
fair.
Then we can draw the line there. And then fleeing the scene. I don't know. Like maybe he was disoriented. Have you ever been in a car crash like that? Like sometimes you don't know where you are. I would stumble off the freeway and like get away too. I wouldn't know.
Totally.
I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt.
That's, as a Chiefs fan, it does not surprise me at all. Okay, well let's. I know we're called LeatherBrainz, Alan. That is our brand. That is what we are. However, I'm kind of thinking we just rebrand. We do a rebrand and we become the Aaron Rodgers podcast, because we are always talking about this guy, and that's where we're going to start today. Former Packers and Jets player, ayahuasca enthusiast, person voted man of the trees this last season here on LeatherBrainz, Aaron Rodgers has signed a 1-year deal with the Pittsburgh Steelers, a $13.6 million deal worth up to $20 million in bonuses. We knew it was going to happen. I think every single NFL fan knew he was going to sign after OTAs, when he didn't have to go to all the extra crap and get all the extra media attention for not being there because he's on his ayahuasca trip. So I think we're all kind of not surprised by this, but it is breaking headlining news. So we got to talk about it. Was this an overpay for Aaron Rodgers? Let's start there. Do you think that $13.6 million on a 1-year deal was worth anything?
I mean, with the ceiling he provides, and like, I don't think so. He had one good year with the Jets, and he was returning from an Achilles injury, and you don't know at his age how long it took him to get.
Would you say
form.
It was a good year? Would you? Are you firmly saying it was a good year?
It wasn't a good year. He was alive for the whole season, which is at his age a good year. So he was alive. I don't know how much he was nursing that Achilles. He rushed it back. He was doing all this. I don't know. I'm fucking tired of this guy. If I'm being completely honest, I'm just over this circus. But I think we all kind of assumed this was going to happen, just because once the Vikings said, no, we're good here. We have our quarterback of the future. Darnold goes to the Seahawks. The Jets, get Fields. It's like, okay, well, there's only one team left, and they're literally announcing no quarterback. So it's got to be Aaron Rodgers. So this is more of just like the worst kept secret in the NFL. I don't think it's an overpay necessarily. I just don't know if it's worth the hassle. I think Tomlin's been doing a great job of keeping this team together, and I think this is going to be like one of his biggest projects, which is crazy considering all of the names that have flown through that team. Le'Veon, Antonio Brown, Pickens. Like he's had his cast of characters, but I honestly think this is just a different animal, because like Rodgers he just doesn't give a shit, and Tomlin is all about people buying in, and he gets them to buy in, even if they're just like total nutsos. Like he gets them to buy in, and I just don't know if Aaron Rodgers is ever going to buy into something Tomlin is telling him. Like he's going to do what he wants to do, and I don't know. I hope it works out for them. I just don't know. I think at this age, it kind of is what it is. I mean, the Steelers are probably going to win 8 games. They're going to sneak in maybe somewhere. I don't know.
Well, that was going to be my next question is, Aaron Rodgers and Tomlin have, and maybe not a lot of people know this, but they've been playing against each other for quite a while now, right? And they do have a mutual respect for each other. There's been a couple clips throughout the years in the NFL where Tomlin will do something cheeky and call timeout, and like, Rodgers will look over at him and they'll both kind of smile at each other and be like, I know what you did there. And that's happened a few times. So, and even when Rodgers was still with the Packers, he had kind of, and was talking about potentially leaving the Packers, and the Steelers had come up in conversation at that point before he ended up with the Jets. And he said he likes Mike Tomlin. He thinks that there's a great rapport between the two of them. So I'm not concerned with that like I was with Robert Saleh. I really am not, because Tomlin, and that might be wild to say, but I think he does have that respect with Tomlin, where Tomlin's been there forever. He knows who Tomlin is. He knows what Tomlin's about. And so it kind of buys him that grace of like, okay, he is the guy, and I'm going to have to listen to him. And I don't think he's going to run into that issue. My next question to you is, are the Steelers still going over 500? Is that what they're destined to do here with Aaron Rodgers? Or because I've seen some people in jest saying like, this is the first time in 10 years that the Steelers will now not be over 500 because they've signed Aaron Rodgers. Do they go over 500 this year? I lean towards because they did it with Kenny Pickett. They did it with
I was just going to say
conglomeration of whatever you had last year. Like they continue to find success. So in some ways, I do think Aaron Rodgers elevates them. I'm not going to say a lot, but I think comparative to a Kenny Pickett and or a Russell Wilson, I think Rodgers is perhaps better than those guys.
I think as much stock as we're putting into the Steelers offense on this, if they go over 5, it's all about that defense. It's always been about defense in Pittsburgh. And I think as long as that defense is holding them together, this is the nice thing is they've never had to ask their quarterback to go out and win games necessarily. It's always been like, just don't fuck this up for us right now. And if Aaron Rodgers can pull that off, then I think there's a high probability, because I think he can probably go in there and throw a couple balls that wins them a game. I am just a little bit curious about their wide receiver room, as much as like DK Metcalf gets a lot of praise, and I think a lot of it is just due to his physique, and he's made some tremendous plays. Like I think one of his best highlights is actually chasing somebody down after an interception, which I think is hilarious.
Yeah,
like,
I remember I remember watching that live, and I was like, "What is happening right now? Did DK Metcalf just catch him?"
Yeah, he's a freak athlete, but I'm saying, I guess my point is like, that's funny that's like his highlight we all remember is him not even catching the ball. It's him just like running somebody else down because there was an interception thrown, which I mean, still a freak of nature.
Yeah,
I am going to be interested to see because I mean the defense is going to focus on him. You know,
oh yeah,
can he make enough plays, or you know, can he command enough attention of the defense to like get somebody else open? And who is this somebody else? Like, is it the tight end?
Is it Keenan Allen?
Step up? Yeah,
Keenan Allen's a free agent.
Yeah,
you still have Amari Cooper, who's a free agent.
I think they're going to have to sign one of those because I don't know if DK is enough for that room.
No.
I don't know if he can do that for the long haul, and that's asking a lot of an aging quarterback to spread the ball around to players that maybe he doesn't trust. He doesn't, you know, I mean, he doesn't trust anybody because he hasn't been there. But I mean, like especially young players that aren't proven, I guess.
Yeah.
And for as much as DK is a named commodity, I don't know if he's proven enough to be like, hey, I can go out and play a full season and just like
I'm a Justin Jefferson, I'm a Jamar Chase, where no matter what, I'm your de facto wide receiver one. And that's not to say that he's not certainly a wide receiver one, but is he at that level? I lean towards probably not. No, he needs some help, right? And
that's why the Pickens thing was weird to me because I'm like, are you that confident that you're just gonna? I know he's, you know, Pickens has a couple screws loose, but like, I don't think that your wide receiver room is that great that you're just like, oh, we'll just get rid of the squeaky wheel and move forward. I think they got some problems. And when I say problems, I mean just like problems to solve. Like, is that wide receiver room enough right now?
No, it's not. And that's why I do think a vet wide receiver will also make an appearance because, and look, Keenan Allen, not the worst option. For a free agent wide receiver right now. I mean, Keenan Allen, he's certainly on the older side of things, but
you can trust him on a third down play
exactly
to get open, to get, get a little dig route and catch a ball for 5 yards to keep the chains moving. Like that's what this offense needs. It's like the very tactical stuff.
Arthur. Well, and I don't know if you listened to the episode, but Scotty actually he broke some news to the Brainiac community, and we did find out that, in fact, Arthur Smith is the father of Jonnu Smith. So I don't know if you knew that or not.
I didn't listen to that.
Yeah. And it kind of blew my mind because everywhere Arthur Smith has gone, first and foremost, I don't know how Arthur Smith still has a job. That he's the worst. But he has some infatuation with Jonnu Smith. He was in Atlanta. He went and got Jonnu Smith. He left Atlanta. Jonnu Smith is now with the Dolphins. There's trade talks keep surfacing about Jonnu Smith potentially going to the Steelers when they already had Pat Freiermuth. And then Scotty kind of pulled the rug out from everybody and goes, I don't think a lot of people know this, but Arthur Smith is actually his father. So pretty wild.
I would have gone with lovers first, but
that's what I did. In the episode, I was like, I think they're secret lovers, and then Scotty, and then he goes, they have the same last name, and I was like, oh my god,
Scotty's an idiot.
Last thing on Aaron Rodgers, he is now slated to play the Packers on Week 8 of this upcoming season. If Aaron Rodgers wins this game, he is one of 5 quarterbacks in NFL history to beat all 32 teams. I'm just gonna say this: I'm rooting that the Steelers beat the Packers Week 8. I'm a man of history. And if I can sit there and watch history unfold before my eyes, I don't even care. I'm not a Rodgers fan. I really don't care for the Steelers a whole lot, but I promise you, Week 8, I will be rooting for the Steelers because I want to watch history be made. That's what I'm here for.
Yeah, the only downside to that matchup is that it's in Pittsburgh. Yeah. So you're not going to get as much of the hoopla. Like if this was in Green Bay, like you'd get, I think that like just the pomp and circumstance that you'd get from him being back at Lambeau Field again, and now with the Steelers, I think it's one thing. That's a neat stat, though. I think that's super cool.
Do you think that'll ever happen again in our lifetime, where we will see a quarterback beat all 32 NFL teams? He'd be one of 5 guys to do it.
Yeah.
Do you think we will see that again in our lifetime? Do you think so?
Yeah, I think so. Because you get quarterbacks that play, now that with the protections that quarterbacks get, they can play longer. And I mean, with the schedules the way they shape up, there's a lot of. I mean, who's to say Mahomes doesn't get towards the end of his career and go somewhere else and then goes the Chiefs.
To Tampa Bay.
Yeah, and then beats the Chiefs. So that's the remaining team he has. Like I could see a lot of quarterbacks doing that. Like I don't it sounds weird to say out loud, but like I could see it happening. Like even somebody like Josh Allen, like gets the end of Buffalo, like goes somewhere else and beats Buffalo. I could see it happening. I'm going to say it's not 0%, but it's less than 50%.
All right.
There you go.
I lean towards probably not, because winning every week is hard.
Yeah.
But regardless, I want to see history.
How many? Let's look this up. How many teams has Mahomes beaten? Yeah, Mahomes would be the next one. He'd have to leave. He's beaten all 31 teams.
Okay, so he just needs to beat the Chiefs.
He just needs to beat the Chiefs now. So he would probably be the next. Okay, let me see. How many is Josh Allen beaten? Because he would be the next, right?
That would be where my money's at.
Oh man, that doesn't tell me. I don't know.
This is good podcasting.
This is great podcasting. Anyways,
yeah.
So I would say yeah, maybe.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I mean, if he's already up there, then yeah, he just needs to leave and go play the Chiefs once.
I'm for it.
I'm for it too.
Let's get rid of him. I say let's get rid of him now.
Let's blow up the whole team. They're going to move out of Missouri. Let's let's do it. I'm here for it. Fuck them. Houston Texans. They are signing free agent running back Nicholas Chubb, which is pretty exciting. So he passes physicals. He is ready to go. The Texans are signing him. Dameon Pierce owners in fantasy football dynasty formats, I am sorry to say, you could probably throw him to the wayside. His time is officially done. But I asked this question: any workload concerns regarding Joe Mixon with the signing there, Alan? Do you expect a Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt type-esque reunion of sorts here? Are you concerned? Joe Mixon's on the last year of his contract, 29 years old. Chubb is not young either, and coming back from that devastating knee injury. Obviously, he was with the Browns last season and is now a free agent. Yeah. Well, was. Concerns there, thoughts as far as what this backfield might look like?
Yeah, this is a fantasy football question here with Joe Mixon and his usage. I think Joe Mixon's a great receiving option. So in this offense with CJ Stroud, I mean, it's a point of like, is he getting goal line carries robbed of him where the easy 1 to 2 yarders are now taken out of him? That would be my only concern. I still think he's going to be heavily used. He is an amazing every down back, and so I would expect to see him in there a lot. But the one thing that would concern me is Chubb now stealing those gimme touchdowns at the goal line. Yep.
Yeah. And to be honest with you, I mean, Joe Mixon, you mentioned like he's a great receiving back. Statistically, Joe Mixon's actually not very efficient. Joe Mixon, and even when Joe Mixon was with the Bengals, if you were looking at statistics themselves, he's not that great. But his volume that he gets with every single team is what elevates him to the point of fantasy usage. And so I am interested to see how this shakes out. I do think Joe Mixon might kind of fall down a little bit in fantasy rankings as far as what this year is going to look like with this signing. Because Nick Chubb, I mean, he was no slouch. And obviously he's getting older as well and coming off that injury. But I do expect him to get used, and I think that he will get used. And so the same concerns you share, I do as well.
Yeah, I guess outside of 3 running backs, I wouldn't feel confident about any running back room necessarily, right? Like McCaffrey.
This year, though, is interesting. I mean, you got a bunch of young rookie, like high draft capital running backs coming in that are pretty juicy, but a lot of them have question marks. I mean, you got Hampton and Najee. So Najee's probably going to be used at least a little bit. You got Henderson, and then they still have Ramondre. Another interesting one. RJ Harvey, I think, is the doors are open for him to be the running back one for that team. But there's a lot of, I mean, the King's fine. He's getting older. We'll probably talk about him in a little bit as well.
It's him, Barkley, McCaffrey. Like, those are the 3 you're like, okay, I feel confident they're going to touch the ball a ton and be very productive. But then I feel like every other team, you're like, well, this guy, but no, this guy, and this guy has this, but maybe also this guy, and I don't know. And even Barkley,
Gibbs and Montgomery, like, I mean, you see a lot of the league go to these two.
Here's the thing. Okay, here's my sneaky like suspicion too with Barkley and the Eagles. Like, he still had a lot of goal line touchdowns snagged by Jalen Hurts, and they didn't ban the tush push, so that's still going to be in play. And if you look at a lot of his scores, even in the playoffs, those were coming from deep. Because in the Super Bowl, they scored from deep, but he didn't touch any of those. So like, it was kind of like that's where all of his bread and butter was.
Yeah. Well, we're talking about Saquon. Saquon had stated that when the day comes and he retires, it will likely be, quote, out of nowhere. And this is from Saquon himself. He said he'll likely wake up one day and decide that he wants to retire. And I mean, I don't like. I got two veins of thought there when I think about that, and it's like the first one is, don't we all kind of do that? Like, don't we wake up one day and we're like, hey man, like, well, I want to start thinking about retirement.
Well, here's the thing: we all look at what the fuck's how much money we have in our account, and then we're like,
yeah,
that's probably good. Yeah. So I don't think it'll come out of nowhere. I think after he pulls up his Bank of America app or whatever the fuck he has, and he's like, yeah, this is good. This will work. This will be good. This will be okay. Yeah,
but like out of nowhere, like. I don't know. It seems like you're gonna wake up week 7 next year and be like, "Fuck, man, I just don't feel like this anymore. I'm done."
Listen,
I don't think he does that, but
I don't think he does that. But I think I don't think it'll come like, "Hey, this is my last season." I think it'll be like the season's done. He's like, "That's it for me."
Yeah,
I think that's how it'll happen, where he's just kind of over it. And he's because we hear that with a lot of those NFL players, or any professional athlete. They're like, I just don't have it in me anymore to like go work out and do all this stuff. Like the motivation's totally gone, and that's when you need to hang it up. And we've seen it in the past with when I was reading the show notes here. I was thinking of like somebody like Luke Kuechly, who was all pro linebacker. Just like, you know what, that's it, early career, I'm out of here. And it's
Frank Ragnar.
A lot of that was like health related, but
yeah,
it's not unprecedented. But I think it seems crazy when you look at who Saquon is and reverse hurdling people, and he just seems superhuman that you're like, oh, you just might not do this anymore.
You just made the Madden cover and reverse hurdled someone last year, and you're talking about retirement. You're in your prime, dude. What are you talking about? Well, we're talking about retirements. Let's kind of go down the Frank Ragnar situation that happened here. So there was in a visibly emotional presser, Dan Campbell addressed the news regarding the retiring of Pro Bowl center Frank Ragnar. Which I don't think a lot of people expected. I didn't expect it. I don't think a lot of people did. They kind of saw it out of left field. First off, I love you, Dan Campbell. That Dan was if you haven't seen the presser, highly recommend everybody go check it out. It is it's very Dan Campbell-esque. So Scotty, maybe don't watch it. But
I was gonna say Scotty's not here to shit talk on Dan Campbell, so we can we can have a love fest for a little bit if you want.
I think we should.
Let's say like one thing we love about let's say one thing we love. Is that yours? I was gonna say one thing we love about Dan Campbell.
I love the fact that he is emotional.
Yep.
That's
actually a really good one. I actually don't think we need to say anything else. I think as a podcast, we love the fact that his emotions guide him, whether it's happy, sad, aggressive. Yeah. Like I like that. I like seeing that. There we go.
I do too. And I think, I mean, we're talking about Dan Campbell's emotions. Let's talk about it. Scotty hates that. And I bring this up because you saw like in this presser that Dan Campbell was in, like he was like almost kind of to tears, and he's like, I love Frank, I love what he did for us. And he even was like, there's one play that will forever stick out of my mind. And they go on to show it during the they cut to the clip, and it's Frank doing some crazy blocking against the Bucs, and he's like trying not to cry, and he's like, I get it. He goes, this is a very physically demanding sport. I love what he's done for us, but we're gonna keep moving forward. And it's, you talk about culture. You talk about like the emotion, and that's what Dan Campbell brings to the Lions is he cares about his people. He cares about the people that have bought into him, and that's what, in my mind, that's what leadership is, right? Whether it's in corporate America or NFL football, getting people to buy into what you're selling, getting people to become part of something better than themselves and the team, and that's what Dan Campbell does. That's why people want to go play for Dan Campbell. If I was an NFL player, he'd be one of the places that I want to go for, because I know that at the end of the day, if I bust my ass for that man, he's going to do the same for me. And so that's my Dan Campbell rant / tangent for the week. But I love the fact that he's emotional, because I think that he cares about his people, and I think that's not something you see. That's maybe somewhat more uncommon in the NFL space than some other people.
Yeah, I think the shocking thing is like a 29-year-old center, top 5
Pro Bowler,
like is hanging him up and is done. But I mean, that's kind of what we're all doing anyways in life, right? Like we're working until we can just retire and then not have to do anything, and that sucks. I think for them, and I think it sucks for that team, and I think this is going to leave a big hole on. Yeah,
that was what I was going to ask you. Yeah, like
that's a top 5 center you're losing out of in the summer out of nowhere, and the
Lions arguably have one of the best offensive lines. They the Lions arguably have one of the best offensive lines. So, with Frank no longer in the picture, is that bring up any concerns or thoughts about what this team could look like without Frank in the picture? Because that's
absolutely
a big player.
They refer to the offensive line as a unit, right? Like they very much are one. They move as one. There's protections. There's check with me's that they're doing. The centers generally running the protections, getting up to the line, like kind of getting everybody set, and then Goff will come in and like change it or do whatever he needs to do. But like the center is running it. And if you're losing a Pro Bowl, basically the quarterback of your offensive line, like, yeah, that's a big deal. And that's not something that should be understated. But do I think they can overcome it? I think you talked about the culture that he sets. Like, yeah, this team's built to look at what happened with them last year and just like turning everything over. Like they're built to overcome these things. And this is just another challenge for them to overcome. And I think Dan Campbell, and I think he gets his guys to like relish in that opportunity. And so the one question I have is like, did they have any inclination of this before the draft, before all this? Because you would have think that if they did, they would have addressed it. So that's why it's like, oof.
They drafted a guard in the second round and they moved him over to center. So I think that it had at least been approached and they thought that this was a potential. I think perhaps they thought like, okay, if it's not this year, it's next year. And maybe it's more likely that it's next year was kind of where their mentality was. And then all of a sudden, you know, they had to pivot. But I don't think it was out of left field as much as a lot of people think it could be, just given the fact that they did draft a guard that they moved to center in minicamp or in OTAs. So I think they kind of saw it coming a little bit.
Maybe Frank gave him a little bit of, he's like, I'm noodling on it. I'm just not sure when. Yeah, that's crazy though. I want to retire. 29, you're done. You can just hang out. Good for him.
The unfortunate part is we're both past 29 and we can't retire yet.
I'm pretty much just going to work till I die.
Yeah. Honestly though, like, what do you do though? Like, I mean, this is not a football conversation, but
when you retire?
Yeah, like, I mean, you can go golf and go dick around, but like you also kind of lose your sense of purpose a little bit. You get a little bored.
Well, for those athletes, because if you think about it, and even in today's world with athletes, when you're a young age, I mean, you know, I have a couple young kids, and it's like even now, like parents and kids are like hyper fixated on it. So it's like, it's basically your whole identity. It is what you are and who you are and how you identify yourself to the greater populace and as you as a human. And then when you retire, you're no longer identified as that. Like you were that in a previous life. And now you got to figure out what your next thing is. A lot of people, like a lot of players struggle with that. Like that is a tough thing because you're sought after, you're wanted, you have contracts, you have women, you have all this money coming in. And it's like
pink cocaine.
You get pink cocaine. You're doing cocaine with Cardi B on a boat. And now you're not doing that anymore. And you're not sought after like that. Like that can be. And I think Frank has a good head on his shoulders and seems like a reasonable guy that has things in order and not making like a rash decision. So he's probably not worried about it as much, but yeah, that'd be wild.
That'd be tough. For me, I said the same thing when Kelsey retired, and I was like, he'll find stuff because he's such a big name, and he has. But like that's your identity. That's been your identity most of your life, and now you have to adapt and figure something out.
I mean, that's why a lot of these guys stay with football. You know, they're either announcing or they're on morning shows. I mean, shit, I still have to stare at Terry Bradshaw's old ass every Sunday morning and like, half the people watching don't even fuck that. I've never watched him play, but he's still hanging around. You know what I mean? Like, it is tough for these guys to like totally like let it go. And that's why there's these other opportunities for them outside of football. But like for me is like nobody's seeking my skills outside of once I retire. Like, yeah, I am going to golf a tremendous amount when I retire.
Golf, eat, and drink.
Yeah.
Two-time Pro Bowl cornerback Jaire Alexander was released by the Green Bay Packers after 7 seasons of service. I will say this was expected. He was offered a pay reduction to stay with the team earlier in this offseason, a deal in which he rejected. He's 28 years old, so the age isn't a concern, and I think the concern with the Packers was his availability. Over the last 2 seasons, he played a whopping 14 games due to injuries. So, you know, I don't know. Like, Jaire, he's a good player. I mean, he's a great cornerback. He's a Pro Bowler. Like, we all know who he is and what he's capable of doing. He just didn't want to take the pay cut. So now he's a free agent. I do think a team will sign him. I think it will not be for perhaps the amount he was making with the Packers, but I think
it'll be on a 1-year deal. I think if he gets anything, you know, right now, I think that's where he's resorted to. Like, if you don't take the pay cut and sign a longer term deal, now you're just kind of resort to this yo-yo of like 1 to 2 year deals where you're just kind of like trying to prove yourself. Because I know we've talked about it on this many times. It's like the fall off for cornerbacks is so stark. Like one day you're getting nicknames like Revis Island, and then you're like gone. You know, like it's like it's such a short burn where these corners are like elite that I get it. Like if you're the Packers, like honestly, this is going to be a tough thing to hear. And I know some of our Twitter followers like Aaron Big D Davis, as he was.
Big D.
I saw him. I saw his comments. He speaks on behalf of Packer Nation for me when I go on Twitter.
No, he does for me too.
I'm just like, how does he feel about this? And he was just like, fuck this, I hate the front office. And I'm like, oh, okay, maybe not. But I guess in my opinion, like for the Packers, like sometimes this is a good thing to get this off your books earlier. It sucks because you like don't want to let that go, but sometimes it's like, you know what, that's actually opening up a few more doors for us to like build this team out. And when you have a young quarterback, that's actually what you will probably want to be doing anyway. So it may suck in the interim, but I think honestly it's probably long term. And he may not want to hear that, but that's probably the best thing for him.
But, I agree. And talking about cornerbacks, let's keep the train rolling. Jalen Ramsey, cornerback for the Dolphins. He's sitting out a mandatory minicamp as trade rumors continue to circulate. This is further indication that Ramsey will not be on the team to start the year, and I don't think he will be. I think if they can't find a trade partner for him, they might just kind of cut him too, and we could see both Jaire and Jalen Ramsey both just chilling on the couch to start the season until a team signs him. And there are teams that I think will sign him, but once again, I think it's going to be very similar situations like you just said, where it's 1 year, continue to prove it kind of things, and until you can't anymore.
Is it just me or am I crazy? Is like Jalen Ramsey been a few years from being like, oh my God, I got to have him on my team? I feel like in name cachet only does he resonate. But other than that, I guess if I'm a Dolphins fan, I'm like, okay. Like there's plenty of other needs we have right now on this team. And like corners definitely like a luxury thing where it's like, cool, if you can pay it. But like, and especially for him as a talent, he is talented, but well past his peak, in my opinion. Like I don't see the outcry for him if he left. Like,
would you rather have Jaire or Jalen?
Oh, Jaire. I'd rather have Jaire.
Okay, oh, yeah. Me too. Okay, Giants quarterback Russell Wilson has stated that the addition of Jackson Dart, quote, does not change his approach. Approach for what is my question? Is it approaching the bench? Is it approaching retirement? What is it approaching? Because your approach is you're going to go in, you're going to try and win the job. I mean, and the likelihood that Russell Wilson is a starting quarterback week 1, I think is fairly high.
Yeah.
I think by the end of the season, he's sitting on the bench.
Yeah.
I think there's no doubt in my mind that Russell Wilson will be sitting on the bench by the end of the year. So us as NFL fans in an NFL podcast can see that. Do you think Russell Wilson has any idea that is actually probably the highest likelihood of outcomes for him with the Giants?
Just judging on Russell Wilson and the videos he made when he was with the Broncos, like, do you think he's aware of very much? I don't know. I think one of the greatest things that happened to us as NFL fans is when he left Seattle, we saw how much of a goober he was.
The Subway commercials.
We're like, oh, this is Russell Wilson. this is like, he's such a nerd. Like, that's just like the best way to describe it. He's just like a nerd. He's just like a football nerd. He's like, if football was like Minecraft, like this, that's who he would be.
That's kind of a good analogy.
That's who Russell Wilson is. I don't think he really cares. He's just like, I'm gonna do my thing. I guess time for a new segment on, this podcast is like fortune tellers. So what week are we fortune telling that Russell Wilson actually gets sat?
I love this.
Because I agree, because it's going to happen.
Giants have their bye week on week 14. I think it happens before their bye week. Now, if it was like bye week 7, I could see maybe like at that point. I kind of lean towards like week 7. And if you look at the Giants schedule, they got to start the season, they got Commanders, loss, Cowboys, loss, Chiefs, loss, Chargers, loss, Saints, probably a win, Eagles, loss. And then after the Eagles, I'm gonna say week 7. I'm gonna say week 7 they're gonna roll out Jackson Dart.
You're right. You know what? You might be onto something, because I think the noise, especially if this wasn't New York, I would say it's probably going to be later. But the fact that this is New York and we know how the media is there, the heat's going to get turned up.
Bingo.
Like, it's going to get really, really hot for them to make it switch. And if the schedule plays out like you said in this new segment of Fortune Tellers, I think you're right. I think that they have to put Dart.
They have to, because Brian Dable's on the hot seat. Yeah, exactly. Brian Dable's on the hot seat. They drafted this kid at 21, 22 overall. They're gonna have to see what they have in him. They're gonna have to, because if they don't, Dable's out. Honestly, and it's probably not just Dable. It's the entire front office. They're just going to can and move on. And so, I mean, that's a lot of pressure to put on Jackson Dart, because it's like everybody's career is hanging on how you play.
I don't think it's how well he plays. I don't think he's trying to save their job. I think they're trying to use him as a life raft at that point to be like, see, look what we got. Like, there's this future for us here. Can you?
And that's what they're selling, right? Yeah. That's what. And if we even get in, this is not out of the range of outcomes. If Jackson Dart comes in week 7, which is when I'm predicting he comes in, and looks even slightly like a Drake May or a Bo Nix, where you can see the future ahead of you, and you're like, okay, we know we got our guy. Let's start building around this and see what we can do here. And I think if that's the case, then I think all those guys are fine and they're safe, and they're going to say, okay, we finally found a franchise quarterback. We have something to build around. Let's start building. And it doesn't need. They don't need to go on an 8-game win for them to accomplish that, but it's all going to, as your old adage, it's all going to depend on what it looks like. That's largely going to be what it is.
Depends on how it looks like. If they're scoring, 30 points a game and losing, that's going to be different than if they're scoring 10 points and losing. They're going to be like, all right, let's get.
But does Jackson Dart look competent? And if he does,
right,
I think he's purchased the front office, Brian Daboll, the whole coaching staff. He's purchased them another year of, okay, prove to me that you can do something with this.
Okay, extended fortune teller segment. Do you think? Oh my God! Do you think Jackson Dart is going to actually be the answer for this New York offense? Yes or no?
Yes, I do think he is. I really do think he is.
You think so?
I think he is. There's slight bias there because I do own him in Dynasty football, so I'm really gassed up on him. Okay. But I think he's their best chance that they're going to have in quite a while. I really do. Like I mentioned, I own him in Dynasty, and then I was like, okay, I need to see, like, do I own something here worth owning? Like, right. I could tell a whole story, and I'll save that for another time. But I drafted him because I was like, I need to hit on a quarterback, and it was there. I had the pick. I'm like, fuck it, it's worth the dart throw, right? And pun intended. So I went back and I watched film on this guy because admittedly I don't watch a shit ton of college football. I just don't have the time to do it because I'm so plugged into the NFL. And I started watching tape on this guy. He's got problems. Everybody has problems, but the kid, he kind of reminds me a little bit of Josh Allen, just a little bit. Like, he's kind of has like the Josh Allen-esque play style. And we've seen Brian Daboll with Josh Allen. He kind of, quote unquote, unlocked Josh Allen when he was the offensive coordinator with the Bills. Yeah. And I think that if he can find a similar, and I'm not saying this kid's going to turn out to be Josh Allen, because I think that's probably unlikely, but I think he has certain attributes that are similar to Josh Allen in his play style that I think Brian Daboll really co-aligns with from a scheming standpoint. I think he will be the guy. I think he will show those signs that he can improve. He runs the ball. He's a big dude. And that was one thing in college, and I'm like, they're going to have to fix this quickly. And even the GM for the Giants had kind of already spoken on it. It's like, dude, you can't take that many hits. And he will lower his shoulder just like Josh Allen does and try and truck somebody. And I love that. I love seeing that in a quarterback because it's like, you want to win. You want to, you know, and that, so he scrambles a lot. I think he's got a pretty good arm. And so it's not as good as someone like Josh Allen, but I think that the physical attributes are there. Really, for me, it's up here. And that's something we're not going to know until we actually see him come on the field. Is Brian Daboll able to unlock the mentals of it to make him successful?
That's always it. You can't.
I'll flip the question to you. Do you think he is or no?
No. But it won't be for lack of confidence. I think if his confidence, like he has like a lot of swagger and he has a lot of confidence. And I think if that was indicative of how he's going to play, slam dunk. Like, I think I mean, the problems, like you said, like, I think those only get highlighted, and Josh Allen is a freak. Like, there's a reason he is who he is. Like, not many people can do what he does. I think that's what makes Josh Allen very special. And I think it's unfair to Jackson Dart to say, like, hey, can you try to mimic that? Or you have the physical attributes to do that. And so I agree. Like, I don't think he should be running, but that's hard to like weed out of somebody's DNA. Like, that's who they are. And so I'm going to say no, but it's not like a slam dunk no. It's just more of like,
you lean more towards no than you.
Yeah, I just lean more towards it's probably not going to happen. I think that, like you said, like the transition from college to the NFL between the ears, getting it done, like that's tough. And I mean, he did have a lot on tape that you're like, oof, I don't know. And you know, he played in the toughest, you know, conference in college. Like there's a lot of NFL talent all over there. And if there was gaps there, like, are those going to translate? Probably. And so that's where I'm just like a little hesitant. But for your dynasty team, I really hope it does play out.
Thank you. I do too. To put a bow on this conversation regarding the Giants and the future of what they look like, do you think any of it's Brian Dable's fault?
No.
Okay, because I don't either. Aside from him losing a bunch of weight.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, that was his only
fatter
thing.
coaches here.
Yeah, because I think there's a general scale to like the fatter you are, the better you are as a quarterback or as a coach. Like I think that's
like an Andy Reid.
Yeah, I think that's like or like a Bill Belichick. Like he switched to like cut off hoodies. Like that's when you know you're rounding into form, and that's probably why people don't trust people like Nick Sirianni. Like you're kind of too in shape. We know you're not actually doing anything.
Robert Salah lost his job, and he was running stadiums in Hard Knocks.
You either have to be really small or really fat. You can't be in the middle like an in shape. Like you have to, because I look at somebody like Shanahan. Like he kind of comes across like a smaller guy. He doesn't seem like he's
Mike
super,
McDaniels.
Like, he's not. Yeah, you got to be super small or super fat. Like there's no between. So it's like, when you go to Eagles, like where's the fat guy at? Who's running this?
Who's running this show?
Who's running shit around here? But to your point, I don't think it's Dable's fault. Like very obvious. Like the worst thing, I think the best thing that could have happened to Dable was that the Giants had a documentary in their offseason and they saw the front office get rid of Saquon.
I agree.
Like that might have been his
saving grace.
100%. That's like the best thing to ever happen to him. If I was Dable and like I was getting whispers of being like, oh, I would literally just put that on repeat in the whole like, front office everywhere. Just be like, this is why we're here, not because I did anything. You signed Daniel Jones, like you extended him. You got rid of Barkley. You signed Russell Wilson.
You're giving me a shed full of like half usable tools here, like half broken tools.
Literally, they hitched his train to Russell Wilson and Jackson Dart.
And Jameis Winston, and I think that was a good move.
Well, Jameis is there for the laughs.
He's there to boost the esteem.
Yeah,
of
like he's the morale. He's the morale booster. He's like when soldiers would go out, he's like playing the drums like as they go out. Like that's what you need. Like he's like, all right, cool.
And he's on rhythm and he's smiling the whole time.
Yeah, he's having a great time. He's going to give you some good sound bites, but like literally, that's what they're asking you to do because it's going to be Russell Wilson.
Yep.
And it's going to turn to shit at week 7 as we've like predicted on the show.
Yep.
Dart comes in to try to save everybody's future.
I think
that's it.
I think
we'll
see.
Play it out. If you're a Giants fan, you don't even just catch it. Tune in on week 7 and see what happens.
Well, hold on. Week 8 they play the Eagles again, and then 9 they play the 49ers. Would they want to roll him out for week 8? That's my only concern. Well, they'll roll him out week 7 against the Broncos. So okay. In end of week 6, they'll
going into week 7. He will start against the Broncos.
Yes, that is
and then die the following 2 weeks.
Yeah, against the Eagles and the 49ers. So rest in peace. Let's talk about Anthony Richardson. Let's keep the quarterback train rolling here. He will miss minicamp after suffering a shoulder injury. This is much more devastating for Anthony Richardson truthers. Like there's like 6 of them out there, but I think this is much more devastating than a lot of people fully comprehend because
he's dead. He's dead. It's over.
Is it over? Is it officially over here? Like this is it?
Dude, this is it.
Being out of minicamp, having the opportunity to practice with the ones. There was already conversations that, they were going to have a quarterback battle and that whichever showed the best hand was going to start the season. This was the straw that broke Anthony Richardson's back?
This is it. I mean, you're trending with a few injuries. And now this injury happened. Now that's it. That's it, man. That's the story's written. You are an injury. You are a physically gifted human that cannot stay healthy. And it's not like his quarterback skills were so off the chart that you're like, oh, that's okay. It's not like Peyton Manning where you had to fuse his neck together and you're like, well, he's still like has good command and he can still throw it. It's like, no, this is it. That's it. Book's written, signed, sealed. I'm not even entertaining any more conversations about his.
No, wait. Before you close the book, you say it's written, it's done. This is Daniel Jones's team for at least the upcoming season, meaning Richardson will potentially maybe not be on roster or will just be the backup until the end of the season and they look to move him. Do you think he starts somewhere else? Maybe the Steelers? They had expressed interest in potentially a trade for Richardson.
I mean, would you want a broken Richardson or a crazy Rodgers right now?
Well, Rodgers is only on a 1-year deal.
Yeah. I just don't see a future with him. I think if you trade for him, you better have a solid I think Richardson's your plan B for the future. Richardson should be the plan B for every team for the foreseeable future.
Sure. But do you think he'll ever start somewhere else ever again?
Potentially, but I think
not that it's going to amount to much, but do you think he will start for a different organization?
Maybe. I think somebody else will give him a shot, but that's purely just to kick the tires.
What if hear me out. They drafted Richardson. The Colts drafted Richardson 3 years ago with the second or third overall pick, somewhere in that range. He's got high draft capital. He's with not the best of organizations. Do you make an argument that somebody else can figure that out, or even this? Let's go on this route. Daniel Jones plays like ass because he probably will, right?
Yeah.
Week 8, week 9, do they? If Richardson's healthy on the bench, do you think maybe they'll just do a swap to see like, hey, maybe let's just throw him in there, see what we got, see if we can squeeze any juice out of this. He's still on contract. He's going to be on contract for another year if we want to re-sign him. Like, what is that in the range of outcomes for you? Because I think that's still on play.
It could be. I think a signal to any team that if Richardson's coming in now at this point, I could probably guess what your record is.
Sure. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No,
like on one hand, I could probably figure out how many wins you have if Richardson's coming in at this point. So I think if anything, it's just like to see and to try to develop. It doesn't take long to figure out these quarterbacks. Trubisky, the second overall pick, you knew in 3 years he wasn't the answer in Chicago and he was gone. Like it does not take very long for these teams to figure this out. And I think, the best ability is availability. And unfortunately for Richardson is, gifted as he may be in some areas, like if he can't stay on the field or, be 100%, like that's a problem for these teams. And that's kind of it. That sucks.
Yeah. No, it does. It does. Rest in peace, my dynasty team. Missouri Senators approved a plan to provide over $100 million in aid for St. Louis, and they authorized hundreds of millions of dollars worth of incentives to try and persuade the Kansas City Chiefs and the Royals, baseball, gross, but have to mention it, to continue to play in Missouri in improved and or new stadium. So it sounds like the Chiefs are most likely going to stay put. So congratulations, Alan. No, being out of Nebraska, you're a Chiefs fan, you can still make the trek down for some games.
I mean, it was either this or Kansas. So I mean, I had options. I wanted them to move to Kansas.
Okay, what if neither was on the table and they went somewhere crazy like Alaska? They wouldn't go to Alaska, but let's say that would be free. That would be sweet.
That'd be kind of sick.
If they, let's say South Carolina, let's throw that in the mix. If they were to go to South Carolina and be I was gonna say Kansas City, the
South Carolina
Chiefs. Would you still be a Chiefs fan, or would you maybe find a team closer to support?
No, I'd still be a Chiefs fan.
You think because like Raiders Nation went through that a couple years ago, and
I think like most of them stayed Raiders.
You think?
Yeah, I would say like the diehard ones. I would say like your fair weather fans would probably be like, we're gonna go find.
So what if there's a lot of hypotheticals I'm throwing at you? I'm just trying to pick your brain. Let's say they go to South Carolina, Chiefs go to South Carolina, Nebraska gets an NFL team. Do you switch at that point? If Nebraska ever got an NFL team, would you consider being?
It's probably sacrilegious, but I probably have duality there. Because I would very much want Nebraska.
If Nebraska ever got an NFL team, I would quickly leave the Cardinals. By the way, I'm throwing that out there. I'm not so married to the Cardinals.
I'd probably be 60-40 Nebraska. Never got a pro team.
Okay,
that'd be.
I don't think they will.
No, that'll never happen on God's green.
I
did want them to move to Kansas though, because Kansas. I don't know if you know where they were proposing the site to be. Have you been to Kansas City recently, or know the area at all?
I know the area. I haven't been there in a couple of years.
You know where the Furniture Mart is in Kansas City?
Yes, I do.
So they're proposing the stadium to be near there and by the Speedway. They were like mapping out an area for there to be like more hotels and shopping and putting the stadium there with a dome. And I was like,
ditch the dome though. That's an advantage.
I kind of want the dome.
Because when you go to games and you don't have to sit in 6 feet of snow.
I don't want to freeze my ass off.
That's the part of it. That's just part of the game.
I know.
How do you think Bills Mafia feels? They have to go in and shovel the damn stadium before they can sit down.
Well, and no offense to Bills Mafia, look how that's playing out for you. So, like, you might want a dome. You kind of might want a dome. Yes, randomly teams can go up there and kick your ass in the snow, but like you have to be there all the time. Like, you maybe kind of want a dome. And I've been outspoken about that. Like, I felt like Josh Allen deserves a dome at this point. I think.
Yeah,
Watching
probably.
Him. But anyways, I wanted that just because it looked cool. The thoughts of Kansas City getting a Super Bowl would be sick. Like being right there, I thought that would be super cool and selfish. But I get all the reasons why they want to stay at Arrowhead. But I want a dome.
Yeah, that's you got to move everything.
Yeah, I want a dome.
Derrick Henry, the king. I didn't know this. He has a love for Adam Sandler, and Adam Sandler has a love for dominance. Derrick Henry was promised a role in one of Adam Sandler's movies if Derrick Henry can achieve over 2,000 rushing yards this season. Does he do it, Alan? Last season, he finished with 1,921 yards. Do you think there is an opportunity that we will see Derrick Henry in an Adam Sandler movie in the future, barring him getting 2,000 yards rushing?
He had 1,900 yards rushing last year?
Yeah. 31 years old, 31.
I mean, I want to say no. I mean, I guess if you really want
I say no.
If you really want to be like, who wants to be in an Adam Sandler movie that bad though? I guess that's my question. I love Adam Sandler, but like,
do you? That was going to be my next question. Is you like Adam Sandler?
Oh yeah. Well, I grew up with Adam Sandler movies, so
I don't find him to be funny at all.
He holds a special place in my heart. Like, oh yeah, like The Waterboy, Billy Madison, Happy Gilmore, the original. Like those all hold a very special place in my heart. I think it much like comedian. Here's the thing, and we're going to go on a tangent with comedians now. Comedians have a shelf life too, because their stick gets really old. Like even Shane Gillis, I can already see it coming. Like his stick's going to get old because he's got a cadence, he's got a way he does things, and people are just going to be like, all right, I'm over it. What else?
Yeah, that's how I am with Adam Sandler. It's like I don't like the little baby voice he does, or the little it drives me nuts.
It had a moment in time. It had a moment in time.
It did.
Okay. So the Adam Sandler aside. The question is, will he go for 2,000?
Well, yeah, sorry.
No, I don't think so.
No. Okay, I don't either. I still think Derrick Henry will be very good, barring injury. But hitting over 2,000 yards at this
fortune
late in the
teller,
career.
what do we think what do you think the rushing yards he gets this year is?
Well, hold on, I'm getting a vision. Will he, I don't know if you can see this in your fortune telling ball, will he stay healthy all season? That's really my question.
Ooh, that's a wrinkle. I'm going to say no.
Okay.
I'm going to say he's got some hamstring thing.
So he'll be out for 3 weeks? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm going to say he goes down for 3 weeks at some point during the season with a hamstring.
I'm going to say
if this shit happens.
Dude, it's going to be nuts.
Yeah.
I'm going to say 1,572 yards.
Okay. 1,572 yards out for this at some point during the season with a hamstring injury.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Book it.
Okay,
that's fine. We're gonna get burned at the stake if this happens. They're gonna call us all witches and
that, and then all of a sudden, week 7, Jackson Darts is starting quarterback.
Happens, we should have been doing like Powerball. This show takes on a new life at that point.
100%. We're gonna come back. We're gonna put one of those like filters of us like old timey and us sitting here having this conversation, and they're gonna be like, "Dude, what the fuck? These guys called all this stuff in one episode too."
Yeah.
Like you could sit here and just make random claims.
Yeah, what else do we?
I mean, with however long we've done this show,
we could do it till the end of the earth and just cut it up to make it sound like we.
Right? But in reality, we're not. This is a live production that is going out, and we just made 2 claims that are probably going to come true. They will. I mean, we looked at the ball.
We saw it.
Yeah. All right. Do you think James Cook's going to hit over 2,000 yards rushing, Allen? Because there's a lot going on with James Cook right now. Bills running back is disconnected from the Bills among contract disputes. James Cook has already skipped OTAs. He may not attend mandatory minicamp among contract disputes. And our good friend, fan of the show, Adam Schefter, had even stated on his podcast that Cooks is unhappy with the situation and disconnected himself from the team and the city. And Shefty says, I don't think we will be seeing him in Buffalo anytime soon. It is also worth noting that James Cook has put his house up for sale. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Schefter, he also went on to say that he doesn't believe that the two sides are anywhere close to a deal at this point. James Cook has said during a podcast interview that he wants to get what he deserves, and he'd previously kind of mentioned wanting roughly $15 million a year. I mean, last season, James Cook, he led the Bills in rushing with 1,009 yards and 16 touchdowns. He also developed as a pass catcher, and in his pass catching ability, he went 32 for 258 and 2 through the air last season. He was a focal point in this offense. Obviously aside from Josh Allen. What are your thoughts on this whole thing? I mean, are you surprised by this? What's the most probable outcome in your mind? Like, where's your mentals here for this?
A little bit, but I think this is kind of like where there's this. I think lack of understanding of what we do with running backs now in the NFL, at least from a front office perspective. I think they're all still trying to find their way. Like, who do you give the most to? You just let Saquon walk. Shit, should we just not let James walk? Like, what do we do with these I think 2,000. Here, I'll give you one. 2,000 yards. What about a 2,000-mile radius from Buffalo, New York? Would give you like New Orleans or Dallas. Like, would he more apt end up in a place, elsewhere?
Would you want to go to New Orleans and play for the Saints right now?
I wouldn't. He's got a good thing going.
You probably could, Alan. I mean, they're so desolate in every position. You could probably go there and play.
Just die. I think. And the Bills got to get this done. I mean, he. You could argue was the reason why Josh Allen won the MVP. Without James Cook, Josh Allen does not win the MVP, and I think that's because he took so much pressure off of Josh Allen. He let Josh Allen got to pick and choose when he wanted to be Superman, not get forced into the role of being Superman, which I think statistically, sure, he was down, but I think his impact on the game and his impact to how that team operated was, think about what we were saying about the Bills going into last year. Like, no, this is where they go backwards. And I think James Cook was the bright spot that allowed that team to move forward where they were kind of like absent of talent. I'm surprised they're not getting this done. This is like this is more concerning than not if I'm a Bills fan.
I look at this. Yes, I agree, but I also look at the entire picture, the bigger picture. Like, we kind of saw this a little bit. We did see this happen with Zeke, right? Where like Zeke got signed a massive deal and then was a huge disappointment, and it screwed over that organization. And James Cook, he's 25 years old right now, and so he's at that age where, he's due for a second contract. This is the last year of his contract. He wants an extension. He wants to get paid. And we all know that the second contracts are where all the NFL players make their money.
Yep.
And I think the unfortunate thing is in that running back position, it's probably one of the hardest positions to get a second contract because you've done great things. You've proved that you can be a capable, reliable player for the organization. However, the shelf life comes into play, right? And so that's the difficult thing is teams don't want to sign these guys to another 4-year extension because are you going to be playing at the same level at 28 that you were at 25? And the reality is, aside from you have your outliers like the King or CMC, but largely you're not. And Alvin Kamara is still doing it. And so it can be done. But should you invest that kind of money? I mean, you're talking, if he wants, let's say $15 million a year for 4 years, which is, I think, probably fair as far as what he deems to be a value. You're talking 4 year, $60 million deal for a running back. Is that worth it for the organization? Yeah. Is that worth it for the salary cap that we all don't, we know it does not exist, but it's a real thing in this situation. And so that becomes the question at hand is, do you forego $60 million for 4 years on a declining asset? Yeah. Looking at the team and the roster, I think it is, you kind of got to, but they've kind of put their foot down and been like, no, dude, like we're not doing that. And because we don't want to invest in it, because we will find another guy. And if you look at James Cook and the stats that I just mentioned, 1,009 yards on the ground, 16 touchdowns. Touchdowns are not something that is a guarantee. They are not something that is a sticky stat that can be carried over year to year. And I do expect there to be some regression there. That's just an insane number of touchdowns. Yeah. So some of that is just luck. Some of that is just being in the right situation at the right time. And you look at the air miles, that's great. I mean, that lends credence to his argument as far as why he should be valued, because he can do it all. He can be a 3-down back for you, but do you want to pay that price? And it's $60 million. And this is just me pulling numbers out of a hat because they haven't really, aside from him saying he wants $15 million and assuming a 4-year deal is kind of what he's looking for, that puts him in the highest echelon of, one of the highest paid running backs in the NFL at the moment. And do you think he's worth that? I think there's other maybe more talented running backs that probably you could get away with doing that with. And that's not to say Cook isn't talented, because he is, but do you want to pay him that?
Yeah, this is where it gets super interesting, because even as a player, you got to look at yourself and be like, a lot of this is fit. A lot of this is culture, like how I work with this offense. Like, sure, a running back is a running back, but a running back on the Bills is, way different than being, running back on the Patriots or a running back even on the Chiefs. Like, they just use him so differently. And I think his impact and what he can do for this team is so unique in the situation he has with Buffalo. And like I said, like, he was a unique piece of that offense. I don't think they can recreate it with what they have on their roster. Like, I don't think.
No, I think Josh
Ray
Allen would
Davis,
have to go back to playing hero ball.
Yeah,
like you
I don't
mentioned.
think Ray Davis gets you there. I don't. Unless they're going to sign somebody else, then what are you doing? Then you have an unknown commodity that you're throwing money at to try to like, fill this gap. And then the rest of that offense, like Keon Coleman, I think was kind of a mystery still. Like I think people are kind of still out on, is he going to be the future of this offense or not? I think physically, like he has the talents and he showed spurts, but then there were spurts where like you kind of forgot he was out there.
He was non-existent. Khalil Shakir was the wide receiver 1 for the Bills last year.
Yeah, I love Khalil Shakir. I think he's sick, but I think he would be even better if he didn't have to be the 1.
Sure.
I think
what happened with
better.
Dalton Kincaid? That was the person that a lot of people, especially once Diggs left, they're like, okay, you drafted this tight end high. Yeah. He's going to be your guy. We know that. And same situation. It was largely irrelevant.
Yeah, it was still Knox. Like he showed flashes, but it was still Knox. Like I think Shakir gives me like Emmanuel Sanders type vibes of how he plays. But I think for this team, for the Bills, if they're going to try to keep things as much as the same as they are, I think losing James Cook is a massive blow to this team winning the East again. Massive blow.
So you think if he's not there, they regress quite a bit?
I would say they regress as much as not winning the division, yeah. I think they still get into the playoffs, but I think the division now is maybe even more up for grabs.
So how do you see this playing out? I mean, is he just because the other thing that I really didn't even touch on, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, is every day that he sits out, he's losing a shit. I think it's like $50,000 a day, and that might be a little egregious, but it's somewhere along like it's an insane amount of money that he's just dropping to sit out for these camps, and that's, as somebody who was on a rookie contract, that's a lot of money. It's not like you have, you didn't hit the second contract and have millions in the bank now, so you can say screw it. What's $50,000 to me? Like that's still a lot of money. I mean, it's a lot of money for anybody, but especially for somebody who hasn't signed a second contract. Like I don't know. I genuinely don't. I don't know if you have any thoughts on it.
I don't know. I don't freaking know. I don't know. I don't know. I could see both sides of this. I think the fit is too great. I think the fit is too perfect for them. They got to do it. They both got to do it.
I'm trying to fix my camera here, and it's all blurry.
Are you?
You want me to just hold it up here?
Are you zooming in? No, this is kind of freaking
out. I'll put it back. All right. So sorry.
You do whatever you want.
Last thing to talk about here. My camera's just slightly blurred now and it's driving me nuts, but I'm gonna keep going.
Okay.
The Bears, the veteran stud, sexy, handsome wide receiver DJ Moore, who may or may not be on my dynasty team, he discussed conversations that he's had with the new head coach Ben Johnson regarding his body language. And DJ Moore went on a podcast and was kind of discussing this and said, Ben Johnson just said, don't do it. Just keep it inside. We talked about it and said, just don't put it on film. Don't put it on the, don't put it out there essentially. So that's how it is. And that's how it's going to be. And something that comes to mind is, my camera's back. I'm looking devilishly handsome. Thank
There we go,
God.
baby.
Woo!
You just got to talk about DJ Moore.
Another handsome back. So in the play that comes to mind as far as kind of and I think a lot of people remember this last season, DJ Moore walked off the field during a live play where it would appear as if Caleb Williams was going to get sacked. Caleb Williams did some magic in the backfield, was scrambling for his life. And you can see DJ Moore downfield. He's watching this and just kind of walks off to the sideline while the play is still live, not even giving his quarterback an opportunity to throw to him. And he's like walking off the field while the play is still live, which was really like, that was tough to watch. And I'm like, dude, what the hell are you doing? But I think that kind of goes back to the culture of the team, the culture of the Bears organization, the culture of their dipshit of a head coach at the time. And so Ben Johnson, I love seeing stuff like this come out. Like, I would much rather see reports like this than the catches you were talking about in OTAs and mini camps where these guys are wearing pads and they're the next thing since sliced bread and they're the best at what they're doing. I like seeing stuff like this, and I think this kind of exemplifies Johnson, kind of like my one true love, Dan Campbell. And you're talking about emotion and building culture. I think that's really, really important, and that's kind of what he's doing. He's not necessarily, not to say he's not focused on the X's and O's, but he recognizes the culture here. He needs to correct some things, and he needs to make sure that people are bought into what he is selling and what he's here to do, and that involves making sure that between the ears is operating at a good level and making sure that people understand that's not okay to do. I'm not going to tolerate that, and we need to be better. and you can't. You're a wide receiver one. You're the guy who's supposed to be the leading example, who's been in the league for years and people can lean on. There's a lot of youth in that room. There's a lot of youth on that offense. Be a positive change. So I really like this. I like the fact that I saw this report come out. This is the stuff that I just eat up.
Yeah. I think for the Bears, if you're a Bears fan, this is exactly what the kind of shit you want to see come out of this team, because it sometimes we get so bogged down in X's and O's that sometimes we forget like how hard it is for a head coach to get a group of professional athletes to go the same direction. And that's the only way these teams can win, is if everybody's on the same page, if everybody understands what their role is, if everybody's bought into that role, if everybody understands how it impacts them. And I think for DJ Moore, I think this is equally important for him to hear that, because, there's a lot of mouths to feed. So for him to understand, like, all right, don't put that on film. Like, I get it. Like, I understand what we're doing here. Like, that makes a lot of sense. Like, as much as we think of like teams as a sport, like it's a business, and as soon as you have like personnel or you have, coworkers like not doing what, we've all been in jobs where you look at the guy next to you like, the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, why are you not doing the thing that we're supposed to be doing? Like, what's wrong with you? And it's like, depending on who's saying the message or if they're bought into that message, like it really dictates how their
culture's everything,
how they move and which direction they move. Yeah. And I know culture's like a catch-all term, and some people like cringe sometimes at the word culture, because like, what does that mean? I think this is exactly it. It's just like, you're just setting boundaries, and you're setting like, this is what good means for this team, and this is what excellence means for this team. And you're either going to be a part of this or you're not going to play. And I think it's very quickly people will buy into that. And I think, you talked about Dan Campbell, like it took a while for him to get guys bought in. And I think that's okay. And it might take the Bears a little bit for get people bought in. Like, this stuff doesn't happen overnight, but I think it's a positive signal if you're a Bears fan to say, like, we have a player like this that's like, I understood, like he's talking about something he did wrong for a totally different coaching staff with the new coaching staff and addressing it. Like, I think if looking at Ben Johnson, like that's his job. That's what he's supposed to be doing. That's something you didn't see Eberflus do at all.
I mean, Eberflus, and I think we talked, I don't know if you were on the show then or not, but we talked about how like Caleb Williams wasn't even like sitting down and watching film, and like they never showed him how to watch film. And it's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, this is the guy that you've hedged all bets on as far as your franchise guy. I mean, it was all we talked about last offseason. It's like, Caleb Williams going to the Bears. It's going to happen. And for you not to try and develop him in that way, it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I really, really hope that Ben Johnson can fix this, because I think one of the bigger misses of all time, or not all time, but like one of the biggest misses of this team will be not getting Harbaugh when he wanted to be the Bears head coach.
That is wild to think about when and I do think Ben Johnson, I have a lot of faith in Ben Johnson, but probably too much faith. But I do think that first and foremost, I think anybody was an upgrade over Matty Eberflus. The fact that they kept him going into last season was mind-boggling to me. But I do think that Ben Johnson, given the current coaching, the options they had at coaching, you couldn't have asked for a better head coach. And this stuff even further cements it for me, as far as like, you're doing the right thing. I'm excited for the Bears. The Bears have won the offseason for the past 3 years. Like that, they have. Like if you laugh, I'm dead ass serious. Think about it. They got DJ Moore. That was 3 years ago. Or that was 2 years ago, 2 off seasons ago. Last offseason, it was Caleb Williams. They're doing all the right things. They got Rome Odunze. This season, it's Ben Johnson. Like they have won the offseason for the last few years. There's been so much hype surrounding the Bears. There's been, and we know that roster is talented. That's the other thing. Is like if you look at the roster, you're like, shit, dude, these guys are competing at a high level. And then you see the product on the field, and you're like, what is this? This should not be the case given what we have.
Yeah, if you spin up a Madden game, you're like, oh,
it's very good roster.
Might be good. All right, so here we go. The Vegas over-under right now for the Bears, this is just from Vegas Insiders, 8.5.
That's tough, because the Bears do have a very difficult schedule. Like, they genuinely have a very hard schedule. And they're in a hard conference, too. I mean, playing the Lions, Vikings.
I mean, so this 8.5 puts them within the range. Other teams with this 8.5 total or around 8.5 are like the Vikings, the Dolphins, the Bengals. So that's like the company they're in at this win total.
God, this is such a hard question. It really genuinely is. I'm going to say under 2. I'm going to say under as well.
Yeah.
But it depends on what it looks like, because if I see...
well, for money, under.
I am going to take the under. But I expect to see the sign, like a breath of fresh air and a sign of progression with this team. I really do. And it doesn't mean it needs to happen overnight. You just mentioned Dan Campbell. The Lions are one of the strongest, best teams in the NFL right now. Up until 4 years ago, if I was to say that and you had a time traveler come in, or like I was a time traveler and I went and be like, the Bears or the Lions are going to be one of the best teams in the NFL in 2025. If I was to say that in 2019, you'd think I had 3 heads. You'd think I'd be fucking nuts. Yeah. And you're like, what are you talking about? But that just goes to show, like, it took Dan Campbell time. I think his first season, it was like 2-15 and then 4 and 5 or whatever it was. It wasn't great. And then you started, but you could see things happening. You could see, I was on the, whether you want to call it a bandwagon or a fangirl, I jumped on the Lions train before all of the NFL community really was like, oh, these are going to be somebody. And I that season, going into that season, I was like, the Lions are going to be really good. I love them. I think they're going to be really great. And then they were, because you could see the momentum come. And I think that's what you need with the Bears is I don't need to see it all happen right this season, but I just need to see the signs of life and the optimism that Ben Johnson and this team could sell to people. So I'll take the under. Wouldn't surprise me if they hit the over, because it's any given Sunday, and I think they're one of these teams right now where we haven't even seen them play a snap under this new regime yet, but I have high expectations. So that's where I'm going to lie.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay,
I agree.
Perfect. Anything else we need to talk about, or are we going to get the heck out of here?
I think we're going to roll, man.
Well, before we do, once again, I want to let all you brainiacs out there know, all you disgusting fiends, go check us out on all social media platforms, whether it's Instagram, TikTok, the X, which is the everything app, YouTube. The show's over on YouTube. It's going live. We do shorts. We're doing a bunch of additional content. Not just us. We actually have our LeatherBrainz team. They're cutting up a lot of different content for all you fantasy football players out there, and they are doing it consistently. So go give us a follow on all your social media platforms. We genuinely appreciate it. And if you want to hit the subscribe button, leave us a 5-star review. It means the world for such a small podcast such as ourselves. We love you guys. Alan, let's get the hell out of here. We
are
out.
If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you tune into our new releases every week on your favorite podcast app. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and check out LeatherBrainz.com for all of your fantasy football needs. And remember, Brainiacs, a championship should be more than a fantasy.